Hello, hello. All right, guys, welcome back. So, this is going to be a collective message. Before we jump into this, just let me remind everybody I will be going live probably sometime tomorrow and do free reads for subscribers. So, I'll see you guys for that. It'll probably be Saturday, not Sunday. So, just keep that in mind. I'm not 10,000% committing to that because other things do pop up and get in the way, but I'm slating it mostly for Saturday. But in any case, this is going to be collective storytelling. And if you would like to make a suggestion as to what kind of a story you'd like to hear, please feel free to drop that in the comment section. I do take suggestions from everybody. So every day we get a winner, or if I don't see suggestions, I'll just pull out of my own deck. But today's collective message was a suggestion for the topic that was given to us by Ellie3388. And Ellie had made the suggestion, how do we let our inner child run free, run wild? And I was like, oh, that's a fun one. So let's go ahead and jump on into that, shall we? So I love the whole stay wild moon child concept, but let's go ahead and take a look. So we start out with, we've got a 3 of Pentacles. So we begin with, obviously, this doesn't look like somebody who's letting their inner child out at all. It looks like someone who's been very hard at work, right? This beaver has been building the dams, but maybe that's the important part. What have we been damming up in the busy, hectic adult world that we live in? That is so I'll say high pressured. What is it that we've been storing up? So before we can maybe let the inner child come out, first we maybe need to remember what things we haven't let out in a long time, right? Because the dam, yeah, it's a way to, especially like hydroelectric dams, right? They release certain amounts of water, and that creates, generates the power and the energy with those turbines. But damming up certain energy and only allowing it to flow when we want it to, in the direction that we want, with the volume that we want, it really prevents spontaneity. So that could be one aspect of this, is like, how have we been channeling energy too precisely in order to maximize our energy output in specific areas? So let's say somebody's very creative, but they instead channel all of that creative energy, well, all that energy in general, into just their career path. It doesn't probably leave a whole lot of free time, or waking hours, or creative juice to do the thing that they used to love doing. So on one hand, they may need to take a look at, like, how do I create space in my calendar for time that isn't so directed? How do I make it so that I don't have scheduled this and scheduled that and streamlined energy flow? It says go out and howl at the moon, do the unexpected, get back in touch with the subconscious. It may also be that somebody needs to go out with a good friend, maybe a childhood friend, somebody that they used to run amok with just a little bit. Go out and do something that they used to do when they were kids, relive that, and it could be like, remember when we used to go sit out and we would, like, even during the winter months, we'd go out under the full moon and we would howl, or we would, whatever, dress in a wolf costume. Remember, let's recreate one of those fun moments that we had, a fun night out, a fun something or other, just to recapture those times that are locked in our subconscious and bring them back to the forefront. So connecting with old friends in particular, especially, running with our old wolf pack, that could be really important to let out that inner child, to reconnect. I like that. That's fun. We also have the Wheel of Fortune that's in the reverse. And normally that would mean something is not moving forward. But in this case, it's more like, take the pressure off of continuously saying, well, I have to move forward. I have to do this, so then that'll happen and that'll happen. Instead of looking at everything that must be done in order to create progress. Every day is I have to create progress. This actually says, because it's almost more like a big old hamster wheel. Now, obviously, we've got this lion who is proudly riding on, a very early version of a bicycle. But it says, to continuously think that every single thing we do must generate something on the great wheel of fortune. It must generate more money in the pocket. It My actions today must generate forward movement in some aspect of my life. That maybe has to be abandoned just a little bit. And some things that we love to do may not generate any money. They may not do anything other than add joy into our lives. It may not be something like, I'm wondering if we're dealing with a character who has been like, I have to justify my existence on this planet. I have to become very successful. I have to have a high level responsibility job. When I have free time, I should be spending it, like helping others in my community. I should be devoting my energy to other serious matters. I should be always doing something that generates something. And this says, no, maybe to let the inner child out. Kids get lost in creative energy, worlds of mystery and mystere and mystique, um, worlds of fantasy, worlds of play and make believe. For someone's inner child to come out, we could say, well, what are kids doing? They're just making stuff up. They're just pretending that, they're Batman or they're, some other little character. And what does that do for them? Well, it actually maybe really helps um, maturation of personality and creative energetic flow, and again, just kind of like allows for different aspects of a personality to emerge. And I'm wondering if our character needs to permit themselves to do things that seemingly have no other value. We could say this: what is the point in having like cut flowers in our house? Why would we buy a bouquet of cut flowers and put them in our house? Because they're pretty and they smell nice. And that's it. It's not going to continue to grow. You can't eat them. They don't do anything other than you turn on and you go, oh, look at those beautiful flowers. But that kind of joy, maybe that's part of the importance of existing also. It's those moments that have seemingly no other value other than they add something delightful to our lives. And isn't that enough? I know it may not move us forward on the wheel of fortune. In fact, it may deplete something in our, pocketbook if we're buying cut flowers or something like that. But does it provide something beautiful? Does it provide inspiration for thoughts? Does it provide, sometimes, well, I'll say this. I couldn't be with someone that I love very much on a holiday, birthday. And so I sent the prettiest bouquet I could possibly find of flowers. And this person loved the flowers so much, they actually wound up taking a photo and then in turn having it turned into material fabric. And then they covered chairs that are at their bar stool now, with that image of the flowers. And I felt like, sometimes something seemingly that has no other value other than, it's a gift of, I wish I was there, so I'm sending you these in my stead. And I knew they couldn't do anything with these flowers other than look at them. But it turns out they did a lot more with them. They got inspired to do something else with that simple, the cut flower arrangement, right? So let me just say it this way. Sometimes things that we think don't have any value could actually spark many more ideas that then do wind up having tangible shape later on. So to not immediately say, okay, if I do this, what will I get out of it? Maybe all we'll get is a smile, or maybe all we'll get is that moment of pleasure that we get to smell some beautiful flower, but that's okay too. For the inner child to come out, it's kind of like we have to step away from the adult world where every resource, every moment, everything is looked at as a commodity. And instead, some things uh, are just about the freedom to enjoy it for simply what it is. Kids take off their shoes and stand in the mud because it feels nice. There's no other reason. It just feels good to squish mud between your toes. It's kind of like all of these simple things are perhaps what this storyline is suggesting for our character. Um, and boy, when it comes to an Ace of Swords, I have to say it this way. Ace of Swords is truth, but it's also cutting things away. And in this case, it could be cutting away the belief that everything is like a dog eat dog world, or that everything is out to, like, we have to control stuff before it controls us. Instead, it's like, how do I say this? You notice how we have kind of like almost a very, I always look at this as like a military esque looking card. And if, I think it was Bob Ross who said, one of the reasons that he liked painting so much was because he had been in the military, and there you don't even get to pick the color of your socks. But when he paints, he could paint whatever he wanted. And big shout out to Bob Ross. I love Bob Ross. Um, Rest in peace. But I'm wondering if saying all the things that are about control, maybe I can cut that out. Maybe I've been too controlling with my own self. I've been too militant with my own self. Maybe I wasn't even allowing myself to have the freedom to wear two different colored socks if I want to. Maybe our character needs to cut away the belief that there's the only way to be a good human in the adult world is to be a very like um, I don't want to keep using the word militarized, but rather I to have too much of a precise agenda. That is not the only way to be a good and productive adult in the adult world. So I think they have to break away from this concept that it's like, well, I have to follow, I have to toe this line, I have to be diligent, I have to follow these orders. Otherwise, I might be a bad human. I can't let my inner child out or I'll be a bad human. And I think they have to cut that away, that thought process that they're not allowed to do things simply because it's enjoyable, that may have no other growth and no other merit other than I want to spend this time doing something silly. It will not further me in my career. I don't care. I'm doing it for me today. I want to go ahead and make sure I have some time each week where I'm not thinking about work, where I'm only thinking about playing. I want to reconnect with those old friends that I used to run amok with just a little bit. I want to rekindle the old things I haven't thought of in a long time that have been trapped in my subconscious. I want to go ahead and allow myself to do things that have no other purpose other than joy. And I want to break away from this concept that I have to follow orders. Who put out the orders of how to be a good adult human? You can bring forth the inner child and still be an amazing adult human as well. And I kind of think all of that combined is what we see for this character. Do we have any other messages here? Do we have any other messages on this? Three of Swords, Five of Wands. So that's interesting. This kind of takes us in a slightly different direction, but we've been talking about how to like bring forth a character's inner child, but now we have maybe the why our character needs to do it. Because if they've been heartbroken, especially in the adult world, and they've been filled with all kinds of here's what I would say. If a character gets heartbroken from a betrayal, something that really cut them deeply, I would argue that it's really easy to fall into this belief that, wow, I must have done something wrong. Now I feel like a kid who got scolded and put in the corner. This must be my punishment. And I think our character needs to get out of that mindset because they're not being scolded. Being heartbroken, and especially if somebody betrays us or does something mean to us, they don't deserve to do that. We're not some little kid who deserves to get in trouble. The universe isn't punishing us, nor does somebody else have the right to make us feel like a scolded child. But I think our character knows that, but they've been kind of like trying to figure out, what do I need to do to break away from that? And ironically, it's to embrace the idea that, wait a second, I'm a free spirit. I don't have to accept hurt and pain. And in fact, letting an inner child come out could be a way to really heal a heartbreak and a wound, just as for a little while they might have been feeling punished, kind of like a kid. So it's interesting that, oftentimes I think in the natural world, we see that the like a snake bites poison, you also make the antidote from the poison, right? And I feel like that's an example of this. the poison also in a diluted way becomes the antidote. And I think this character has known that. They know that they need to let themselves be more free, more childlike, especially if somebody scolded them and said, oh, whatever, you're just too immature or something. And it's like, actually, that's a really great part of me. And I don't want to ignore that part of me. I want to embrace that part of me because there's a lot of strength inside of me that comes from that piece, that inner child of me, that's one of the best pieces of me. It's the kind part of me. It's the guileless part of me. It's the piece of me that is creative and is not always out to just make a buck and is not calculating and is not about, oppressing others. Kids aren't trying to oppress others. They're just trying to play, you know. Kids aren't worried about like swindling people and getting the next, dollar out of somebody. Well, I guess some kids are. It all depends, right? But for the most part, that's not the way they operate until they learn that behavior from the adults, right? And it just kind of seems like there's so much power, so much grace, and so much goodness in this person's inner child that there may be a really wonderful reason to bring back or reconnect with the inner child for this character, because it'll help heal their heart. It'll be part of the antidote, and it's something they already know that they need to do. And even them releasing that inner child, allowing themselves this space, could really help other people in their immediate circle, especially if it's like in the workplace. Maybe if this person like leads groups or something, they may choose to start out a meeting with something that is totally just silly and fun in order to calm down hostilities and let everybody like laugh a little bit more, let the softer side of everybody come out. I, I don't know. It feels like I don't know if this person's going to start giving seminars on like being an inner child, like letting out the inner child or what. But it feels like this character sees it as a very soothing way to, like they subconsciously know that this is soothing and I should pursue this. I really liked that one. That was sweet and that was kind of freeing. So that was fun. Thank you so much for a great suggestion, L3388. All right, guys, take care, and I'll see you again tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll start doing a second video every day also. That's going to be a very different style. So I'll see you guys tomorrow twice. Bye.